For anyone who has seen The Mandalorian second season finale, you will know that the series ends with the return of Luke Skywalker. It had been touted for some time that Luke would be making an appearance in the show, with some suggesting Sebastian Stan had been cast in the role, but in the end, Disney opted to use a de-aged Mark Hamill. However, some have questioned just how good the visuals for the de-aging actually were. But since the episode's release, YouTuber Shamook posted an alternate take on the scene, tweaking the visuals and using deepfake technology to replicate a young Luke Skywalker in his prime. The results are arguably much more effective. The video, which was released in December 2020, has, at the time of this video, over 3.2 million views, and reportedly took the YouTuber just 4 days to create. However, due to the convincing nature of the video, Shamook was quickly scooped up by the company behind The Mandalorian itself, landing a job at Lucasfilm's special effects company, ILM. In a public statement, a Lucasfilm representative said, "Over the past several years, ILM has been investing in both machine learning and AI as a means to produce compelling visual effects work, and it's been terrific to see momentum building in this space as the technology advances." Now, while deepfake has been large on the internet for some time now, with there being hundreds of videos on YouTube using the technology, it still seemed that it was some ways off from actually making its way to the big screen, with de-aging seemingly the go-to Hollywood tool. Now, however, with the hiring of YouTubers like Shamook, there is a suggestion that the deepfake technology is ready to take the leap from the small screen of your phone to the big screen of theaters. But what exactly does this mean for the film industry? In this video, we will take a look at how deepfake effects are achieved, how far along the technology is, the ramifications it could have, and exactly how deepfake effects could change the way we watch movies forever. This is how deepfake can change the face of the movie industry. In essence, deepfake is a synthetic media that uses artificial intelligence and machine learning that can generate visual and audio content with the high potential to deceive. Deepfake research actually started all the way back in the 90s, with the first groundbreaking project coming with the video rewrite program, which modified existing video footage of a person speaking to depict that person mouthing the words contained in a different audio track. However, deepfake really came to the forefront in 2017, with it admittedly being used for some rather nefarious purposes, with famous actors' faces being placed on the bodies of adult film stars. But it has also been used for pure entertainment purposes as well, with parody videos online as well as fantasy casting videos with actors such as Jim Carrey inserted into the likes of the Joker. While we have only really just scratched the surface with what deepfake can do and how much this AI technology can grow, the most common use of deepfake that we have seen is replacing one person's face with another. To do this, a deepfake essentially uses deep learning, an artificial intelligence process that mimics the neural patterns of the brain so it can learn from the images fed into it. To put it simply, the AI first watches and learns and then uses what it has learned to duplicate the actor's facial movements onto the target face. Deepfake basically exploits two separate models. One model that creates the digital forgeries from a set of sample data, the more data you can provide, the better, and a second model that tries to detect whether or not the video is a fraud. This technique is called Generative Adversarial Network, or GAN for short. But how do you go about creating a convincing, hyper-realistic deepfake? We got the chance to speak to Belgian VFX artist, pioneer in the world of deepfake, and co-founder of Metaphysic.ai, Chris Ume, whose incredibly realistic deepfake videos involving Tom Cruise went viral, drawing millions of views online. Chris, who started off as a cameraman, is self-taught in both VFX and deepfake, learning through online tutorials, and was drawn to deepfake after seeing it on the news and saw that there were a lot of creative possibilities in the format. Since learning deepfake, he has used it to insert Sylvester Stallone into Home Alone, de-age David Hasselhoff, make Golem sing, and cheekily made Jon Snow apologize for Game of Thrones Season 8. He tells us that people are drawn to his deepfakes because of their hyperrealism and the characters he's creating, and despite the fact that we know we're not looking at the real person, we are drawn in by the character and how real it looks.
With the deep Tom Cruise character, for example, what's so amazing about it, I think, is for people, it looks hyper-realistic. With deepfakes for like a year and a half ago, you could immediately say like, this is not real. But with the deep Tom Cruise thing, there are a few things coming together. Like on one hand, I have like one of the best impersonators in the world, Miles Fisher. He's so good at doing Tom Cruise. And he also looks like him, so that helps. He's a younger version. So if you combine him with what I do and with the hardware I got, then you can create these hyper-realistic videos. A lot of people know it's not him. A lot of people are still confused, but the sketches we're doing, like we're trying to create harmless videos, like weird videos. When you're looking at them, like you don't know how to feel, but at the same time, it makes you smile. And that's so interesting about the deep Tom Cruise character, because we're actually building this character. He's doing these things and people are amazed in some way. And you can see whenever people are doing like parodies on our videos, like they're mimicking what the deep Tom Cruise guy is doing. That's so amazing. And that's what makes me happy.
But making a hyper-realistic deepfake doesn't come easy. And for projects like the deep Tom Cruise videos, you have to create a vast, high-quality data set, collecting as much data as possible of Cruise doing a number of expressions such as smiling, laughing, crying, looking left, and looking right. However, you can't pick the data at random, and it has to be specific. You have to choose what age range of the actor you want. Otherwise, from one angle, he could look old, and another, he could look young. In total, for his Tom Cruise dataset, he took 2 weeks harvesting the right material, getting as many angles and expressions as possible. That's why so many deepfakes involve celebrities, because there is so much material available to the world. After he had accumulated the data he needed, Chris then trained a computer model for 2 months on random faces, so the model understood what and how a human face looks and how it moves. Every time Chris gets a new video of Miles, he has to train the model for another 2 to 3 days, plus at least another 24 hours in post-production, with a number of AI tools to finally get the finished product. Miles' performance also helps elevate the authenticity of the content and makes it more believable, showing that even in deepfake, an actor's performance is still important.
I think it's really important to have someone to be able to impersonate the actor you're trying to recreate. Because if you look at the deep Tom Cruise videos, the way he's talking, the way he's moving, it's just like he knows Tom Cruise. Because people at the moment, they think when they see these videos, like it's all done by AI, but AI is just a small part of it. It's like the performance of Miles Fisher, the actor, how he's doing that is just amazing. But if you compare Miles' voice to Tom Cruise's real voice, they're not similar at all. The only thing Miles is really, really good at is the way Tom Cruise is talking. That's what he's really good at. He's really mimicking the way Tom Cruise is talking. And just by seeing Tom Cruise, the way he moves, the way he talks, like they're not even realizing the voice doesn't really sound alike.
This then means that making a hyper-realistic deepfake is difficult and not something an amateur can whip up in minutes. But that's because we are in the very early stages of the technology. However, with the technology improving and a number of companies working on it and realizing its potential, deepfake will continue to improve and to become even more accessible to the average viewer within the next few years alone. Within just 3 years, the medium has improved emphatically, and it will only continue to rise. The technology is here to stay, and effectively, we have to learn to adapt to it. As Chris put it, he is just one guy working on this technology. Imagine what other companies and people are working on. We don't know what this technology is truly capable of yet, and we are just beginning to find out.
It's weird, but it's cool at the same time. So I'm sure people will come up with funny ways of and creative ways of using the technology, because at the moment we don't even realize what's possible. Whenever I'm doing something, I just try to combine things to get certain results. And I think I'm just one guy. Just imagine what other companies and talented people will come up with.
Now we gotta ask, how close are deepfakes to being used in big budget films and TV shows? Well, pretty damn close. As we mentioned, the technology is improving tenfold, but there are still some setbacks, and you can often tell whether or not something is a deepfake, especially on the big screen. However, Chris believes that sooner rather than later, the technology will be flawless and a main staple of Hollywood filmmaking, with every movie production having their very own AI artist and expert. Right now, the likes of Disney will use either de-aging or digital face replacement like they did with Peter Cushing for Rogue One when they want to insert an actor into a scene, but it was revealed that they are currently working on their own deepfake model, one that can produce a video with a 1024 by 1024 resolution. That means we are getting closer and closer to Hollywood features and commercial projects using deepfake technology. Eventually, deepfakes will be a quicker, more cost-effective means compared to traditional VFX and de-aging. Since his deep Tom Cruise videos went viral, Chris has said that he has had numerous requests from actors and directors which he never dreamt of working with, asking to collaborate on projects, and that he has a number of movies and documentaries, although he couldn't reveal which ones, in the pipeline. We are already seeing projects with hyper-real deepfakes, such as South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker's satirical Sassy Justice, which Chris worked on for a year, helping to develop the technology with Matt and Trey. Apparently, their initial vision was to use the technology to create a movie, but due to the pandemic and everyone having to work remotely, instead opted to make a TV pilot, shooting their actors such as Peter Serafinowicz in front of a green screen. Chris said that a year ago, not many in the industry believed in the technology, but Matt and Trey did and wanted to make a project using deepfakes. Now Chris's phone barely stops ringing, and he is relishing being one of the people to help pioneer the industry and show how the technology can be used ethically and for good-natured creative means.
After Deep Tom Cruise, it created such a buzz and somehow changed the way a lot of production companies, marketing agencies, even talents were thinking about the technology, because like a year and a half ago when I started from Matt and Trey, no one believed in it. Like they all thought it was something that was going to stay, like you could use it for memes, you could use it for YouTube videos, but that's it. That's where you draw the line. But they actually realized the potential. And that's when they created this super deepfake team with a few developers working on it.
Now that we are getting over the uncanny valley with deepfake, people are believing more and more in what they're seeing, and therefore deepfakes will likely become more prevalent in Hollywood. Chris says we are a little ways away from having a full feature-length movie using just deepfake characters, but this is down more to practical issues. That's because a production would need a lot of AI artists as well as VFX ones, along with a lot of time and effort, given at how early the tech is in its development. It has long been touted that deepfake could also be used to release alternate versions of movies where actors are replaced with a fantasy casting. While there are of course videos on YouTube, as we mentioned, these have their quality limitations, but the tools are in place for a company like Marvel to use deepfake to provide an alternate casting of one of their characters. Say they wanted to release a version of Iron Man with Tom Cruise as Tony Stark. As long as they had the actor's permission and he signs off his synthetic portrait, the technology basically exists to make this a reality. Therefore, Tom Cruise could play Iron Man without him ever doing a day's work. Of course, this also means that deceased legends in Hollywood could also be digitally created in deepfakes as well, and in the future we could hypothetically see a new Batman movie with Heath Ledger as the Joker using deepfake technology. Of course, recreating actors who are no longer with us does come, understandably, with a number of ethical concerns, and there was a large backlash after it was announced that James Dean's visual image would be used as a supporting character for a Vietnam War movie, Finding Jack. Chris is fully aware of these ethical concerns and also agrees that bringing back these artists should be done in a respectful way that honors the performer they are trying to digitally recreate. For example, if you were to create a documentary on Marilyn Monroe, given you find an actor who could realistically play her, deepfake could be a legitimate way to bring Monroe back to the screen and have us feel like we were actually looking at Monroe herself.
You can actually see her, or at least someone who really looks like her, like almost real thing. And I'm sure we're going to get to the real thing. So that's interesting.
Chris also used an example of a commercial he worked on for the Belgian national football team in the lead up to the 2020 European Championships, which saw him bring back two of the team's former managers, Raymond Goethals and Guy Thies, as they interact with their current head coach, Roberto Martinez. The permission of the families were sought before the project was underway, and before the commercial was aired, it was shown to the families, who apparently became emotional and happy to see their loved ones appearing in front of their eyes once again.
Somehow bring back these emotions of back in the time, because that's when we had a great tournament and we want people to look at it and they somehow get this emotional connection with this campaign, right? They contact the family to ask for their permission. And even before we released it, we would show it to the family if they would approve, and then they would say like, yes, they look like them, and what they're saying, even the voices, we had like a voice impersonator to do that as well. And I remember when they showed it to the family was crying because they were so happy with what they were seeing. And I think that's really great.
When done right and respectfully, deepfakes can be a way of not just bringing in a famous face for the sake of it, but honoring their life and performances. But of course, it can be a fine line to walk. One of the industries deepfake is most likely to change rapidly is commercials. Chris gave us a perfect example of this. Say Cristiano Ronaldo has a deal with Nike and the company pays him millions a year to be the face of the company, but they only have a limited amount of time in the year to actually shoot him for a commercial. This could cause a number of issues, however. For one, they would have to pay for his flight, his accommodations, etc., and there is also the chance he could pull out of the shoot. But if Ronaldo works with an ethical deepfake company, which is creating high-quality data sets, the deepfake company can provide Nike with the data to create as many commercials as they want without Ronaldo ever coming to set. This saves on cost and means companies can constantly market their star's face whenever they want, opening up tons of possibilities for them. All they need is Ronaldo's signature. Companies can also implement deepfake to dub their international commercials.
It's like a Chinese brand is making a commercial about a drink. They can actually translate it to an unlimited number of languages without having to reshoot this commercial, getting new actors to do the shoot. Like, you only have to do a shoot once and can translate it to whatever language you want.
As we mentioned though, deepfake can be used in more ways than just inserting an actor's face onto another person. Henry Cavill's mustache cover-up in Justice League is, infamous, with it reportedly costing production millions to unconvincingly remove, but deepfake offers a way to remove or add facial hair and alter an actor's appearance in general. Sassy Justice showed a number of different ways this could be done and how subtle physical changes subvert the audience's expectations. Deepfake can be used to restore old footage and performances and even colorize them. Chris gave us an example of this, saying that he restored the footage of Belgian singer Jacques Brel, who has long since passed away.
I deepfaked him on top of himself because the interview I have is in full color. The music video he did is black and white. So I deepfaked him on top of himself. And by doing the post-production and the enhancements that you're using AI tools, now you actually have like a full HD version in full color with him looking at the camera, doing his full performance. But it's the same guy with the same expression. So it's really cool to use it in that way. And somehow it's like you're doing a restoration of that certain character or that certain performance.
By using deepfake to colorize old movies, you are doing what would take an entire team of 60 people 2 years to do in a matter of months, and soon maybe even shorter time than that. As we previously mentioned, another way deepfake can be used is for dubbing international movies and vice versa, and it is in fact something Michael Mann is working on for his movies, with the likes of Thomas Vinterberg's Another Round being remade for a US audience by Leonardo DiCaprio. Deepfake could provide a cheaper, easier option, using the process to line up the translation with the mouth manipulation, but still keep the actor's initial performance as well as the filmmaker's original work. With movies such as Parasite becoming more prevalent, and with streaming services like Netflix becoming more international, deepfake could be a simpler and better method of distributing movies to a number of countries, negating the need for subtitles, but providing the movie to an audience in their native tongue. It is unclear whether or not a dubbed film with deepfake would still feel authentic, but it is certainly an interesting, albeit controversial thought. Chris did say one thing that would be difficult for the AI artists would be lining up the dubbed words with the actors' body movements, as, of course, different nations have different ways of speaking and different tempos in their speech. But he believes it is something that is all highly plausible and that you could even have, say, a Korean actor appear in a movie and talk in their native language and have their performance deepfake dubbed later on. Think of it like one of those spaghetti westerns, but a little bit more advanced.
What does he pay you for murdering me?
$500.
This process can also be used to save on reshoots. Say while filming you forgot to have an actor say a specific line or want the character to say something else in post. Normally, you would have to reshoot the scene, but with deepfake, you can make the actor say a line he never actually said, saving precious time and money, but still getting the desired result.
Because if you forgot, let's say, Legolas in Lord of the Rings, you forgot to make him say a certain line, well, you could actually use deepfake to make him say something different. That means you don't have to reshoot that shot, and that's really helpful.
As we said, there are a lot of reasons to be excited as to the possibilities of deepfake, and we are still learning what exactly it can do. But of course, there are those who fear this technology, and it does cause a number of ethical concerns, mainly how they can be used to make people do or say something that would harm their reputation, to potentially extort people, or to spread false information. Chris is fully aware of people's concerns and understands that deepfake technology has been used for nefarious purposes previously. That is why he is using his platform to spread awareness as to what the technology can do and how it should be treated ethically, as well as getting involved in programs such as Adobe's CAI, that's Content Authenticity Initiative, to help debunk deepfakes and prove a video's legitimacy. For example, 30 or 40 years ago, no one knew that a photo could be altered or faked, and now everyone is aware of Photoshop, and he believes that down the line, it will be the same thing with deepfake. Chris also admits that incorrect reports in the media give deepfake a bad name and only report on one half of the story, and that's why we should understand the positives of deepfake and how it can be used creatively and to entertain. In particular, Chris enjoys the fact that his content genuinely makes people smile.
That's why I'm really trying to push the ethical side of things. Like, there's also a good way of using it, and we have to adapt. I want to create awareness. That's what I'm doing with Deep Thumpers. I want to make people aware what's possible, and I don't want to scare them. I want to show them the creative uses as well. If you look at the reactions of Deep Thumpers or my Oprah channel or my content in general, people are we're really making people smile, and I think that's an interesting use case as well.
With deepfake potentially being a quicker, cheaper, and more realistic way of shooting scenes or doing reshoots, as Chris says, having a deepfaker or AI artist on the team will soon be a huge and integral part of a movie production. With directors knocking on his door for a potential collaboration, it looks like deepfake is here to stay. Furthermore, we have only just seen the beginning of what this tech is truly capable of, and we are yet to see the full potential of deepfake and AI. It'll be interesting to see how the technology develops over the next few decades and how it will be a part of not only the film industry, but society in general. Mark my words though, deepfake is here to stay, and it will change the face of the movie industry forever.